Hello and welcome to Eye on Oakland. I'm Chuck Moss, your host, and we're talking with Jamie Ayers, who's from the Common Ground, your Director of Victim Services from Common Ground. I know what Common Ground is. A lot of people don't, but why don't you tell us, what is Common Ground?
Sure. So we are a comprehensive crisis agency, and we are based in Oakland County, but we also have services that service the entire state of Michigan. And so we've been around for about 50 plus years. And we have a resource and crisis center that has it's a walk-in crisis center located in Pontiac. We also have a resource and crisis hub where people can call in and talk to someone on the crisis line. We have the Michigan Call and Access Line, which is one of the call lines that we man. And on that is something called Frontline Strong, which is primarily, it's for first responders, run by first responders, and Common Ground answers those calls. We also, many people know about 988. It is the behavioral health 911, and Common Ground answers the call for the state of Michigan for 988. We have a behavioral health urgent care, which is also across the state, where people can get paired up with a therapist within minutes. And then we also have victim services as well. We have 3 resiliency centers that support the 3 mass violence incidents that happened in Michigan. And then we have a program called our Victim Assistance Program, which supports all victims of crime. And then we have a division that focuses on human trafficking. We also have mobile crisis units as well, and we have that in more than Oakland County. So we have a lot of different types of programs. Most of the programs we offer are free. And so if anyone you know is in crisis or needs any sort of support, or they just like to talk to someone, Common Ground is the place to go.
Now, you said that you did you say 15 years in business? I thought I seem to remember Common Ground from like being in Royal Oak. I remember, weren't you guys originally in Royal Oak? And
Yeah.
I remember
So
that.
it's 50 plus. So
50.
Yes. Yeah.
And who is it for? Who do you serve? Who would be your...
Anyone who is in crisis. You don't even have to be in crisis. If you just need some support, just someone to talk to, we never turn anyone away. Our job is to open as many different pathways to healing as possible. And if we aren't able to provide a service for you, we work really hard to make sure that we get you to the resource that is what you're needing.
Now, you began, as I recall, it was just a crisis hotline, a call in.
Mm-hmm.
And this, I'm thinking back like to the 1970s or the early 80s, which of course you still do. If someone is having a problem or whatever, they can call you, right?
Yep. They can call Common Ground, and you can call 988 if you need to, but you can also call our crisis line as well, and they'll help get you to the resources that you need. And if you would prefer to see someone in person, you can also walk into our resource and crisis center.
Well, what is that number? Well, we'll put that up on the screen just for people to know. What is your number?
Yes, that is a great question. Let me pull it up because I don't know it by heart. And it is, it's 1-800-231-1127 is our 24-hour resource and helpline. And then our resource and crisis center, the walk-in center, is at 1200 North Telegraph Road, 32 East, and that's in Pontiac, Michigan.
Yeah, 1200 is the county center, right, where the courthouse is and all that, in the county complex. Where in the county complex specifically?
So you would come off of, that's a great question.
The big building, because that's where the county commission is and the courts are and all that stuff.
Yeah, there's signs. So you go into if you're coming from, if you're coming from the north, you would take that first telegraph entrance into the county complex, and then you would you would follow the signs that take you to the resource and crisis center.
Okay, because that's it's a big complex, and it's of course all the courts are there. And if you get really lost, you get to that round building. It's the county commission. Yeah, just pretend it.
Yeah. Exactly.
Trust me. So Good. Now, I know that your motto is if it's a crisis to you, it's a crisis to us. And so you have a lot of resources that would be available. What do you have?
Yeah, so and when we say that, if it's a crisis to you, it's a crisis for us, that means um, one person's crisis might not be a crisis for someone else. And so whatever your individual experience is, if you are feeling like you're in a crisis, then it is a crisis. And so you don't have to meet a certain level of crisis in order to reach out for help. And so some people might have something like they're really missing their best friend, and that's a crisis to them. And so we're here to support them. And some people may have a bigger crisis and might have suicidal ideation. They may have lost their job, that is a crisis to them. So we always want people to know that wherever you are, we're here to help. And so the different types of services, we have a sober support unit, which helps people with substance use um, addiction, that they can help get support for that. We do have a place where they can go and stay overnight if needed, and then we have crisis workers who are incredibly trained, highly qualified crisis workers that answer the phone, and they're ready to meet you wherever you are. And that might mean you need someone to talk to for a shorter period of time, or through those conversations, they might see that you need something a little bit more. And so their job is to get you to those resources, whether it's within Common Ground or not. And then, like I had mentioned, we have our victim assistance program. And so you can call and get paired with a victim advocate if you are a victim of crime. And that is regardless of if you have a court case or not. We're here to help any victim of crime. And that can be with victims' compensation, it could be with court accompaniment. We do have a division that focuses on human trafficking. So that might mean that we work with local police departments and help rescue human trafficking and make sure that they're well cared for. And then we also have our resiliency centers. And so we have one in Oxford after the Oxford High School shooting, which was just about 3 years ago. We also have one in East Lansing that supports the MSU community and East Lansing community after their incident. And we have one opening in Rochester Hills in just about a month, a little less than a month. They'll start providing services there, again, all free of charge.
Now, I know we know about the call-in because I think you began as a call-in service and put the number up, but you also have places where people can walk in. Where are the? I think you mentioned it, but let's highlight it. Where would they do that?
Yeah, so that would be our Pontiac location that's on the county campus. And then we also have the Resiliency Center locations too. So Oxford, Rochester, East Lansing. And even if you weren't impacted by those events, you can still walk into those centers and we will get you to the resources that you need. But our Resource and Crisis Center is that 1200 building in Pontiac.
Right. Now the mobile, you said there's a mobile unit or something like what's that?
Yeah, so if someone calls and they're in crisis and they need a clinician to come to them, then the numbers that you call can help get those individuals deployed to you. And so we have the ability to actually go into people's homes or businesses or wherever they are and help provide mental health supports and any kind of service that they need. And those people are also trained, in crisis intervention, and they're clinicians. And so they can provide that therapeutic service wherever you're at and help get you to the resources that you need from there.
Because there are, you read about areas where somebody is having a crisis and it escalates, gets out of control, and then bad things happen, or they do something, or the police get called and the police are not really handled to do that, and just say bad things happen that don't need to happen. So if we call someone to de-escalate or to get help that they need, they would call you.
Yep, they can call us. I mean, obviously 911 is always an option, but they can call us. We like to do it in the most gentle way possible. And so we can, like I said, we can come to you, or we can help you via the phone lines, or we can help you through our Resource and Crisis Center. So we try to have that gentle approach to make sure that we build that trust and people feel safe in our care.
Well, what would be your most accessed or most used service? What is it that you might be your biggest? I hate to use a product, but what is the service that most people would use?
Our call lines are probably our biggest resource use, especially with 988, because 988 is across the state of Michigan. And so they field a lot of phone calls. And through 988, they can also help, again, get people to the resources they need. I think our crisis lines are the most utilized service that we offer. It's the most well known also, because a lot of these programs are new. And so we're still going on shows like yours so that we can get the word out that there's all these other types of programs that we offer.
Now, if somebody has a family member they're concerned about, they don't have to just call for themselves. They can call. I have a son, I have a daughter, I have a grandson who seems to be acting, and they could call you for help about that.
Yes, they absolutely can. Yeah, they can call for their friend. Our crisis line workers are ready to help navigate whatever someone's experiencing. So it does not have to be you yourself. If you're worried about your spouse or your child, we're there to support and help get you any sort of resource that's needed. And they're just the people on the other side of those lines that are servicing people who call. They're very empathetic. They're kind. There's zero judgment when anyone calls. They're just there to help, and that's what they want to do, regardless of what's going on.
Well, because it's a very sensitive subject, I'm sure, but there have been lots of news reports of somebody who's in crisis, and it starts escalating when phone calls are made. People who are not particularly trained to handle those kind of situations, and they can escalate. Like you said, bad things can happen. How do you deal with human trafficking? That's sort of intriguing. If someone thinks something's going on, they call you. You match them up to the right service.
Most of the time, people self-identify as victims. We do have relationships with uh, sheriff's departments in multiple counties. And so sometimes we may be asked to go on a call with them. So that way they are rescuing the person who's being trafficked. And then they have an advocate who's there with food or clothing, and they're able to help get them shelter or whatever they're needing. So it's mostly either we work with the local sheriff's offices, or they may self-identify. So they may call the crisis line. They may call 988 and say that they are a trafficking victim or survivor, and then they would get paired up with that department.
I know that at least in Oakland County, Sheriff Bouchard has put a lot of resources into this issue.
Yes. And Sheriff Bouchard and his office, they are wonderful partners to Common Ground. We lean on them a lot for a lot of different reasons, not just human trafficking, but they're just wonderful partners, especially with our Oakland County resiliency centers, our walk-in center. So we really, really value that relationship.
Well, I know the sheriff's office has broken ground in a lot of areas. We're going to take a break here. We're talking with Jamie Ayers, who is the Director of Victim Services for Common Ground. And Common Ground is, if you're having a problem, anybody else who is a family member, you should definitely call them, and we'll have the number up in a minute or two. But right now, we'll be right back here on Eye on Oakland. Hello and welcome to Eye on Oakland. I'm Chuck Moss, your host. We're getting back to talking with Jamie Ayers, who is the Director of Victim Services for Common Ground. And we've talked about Common Ground is if you have a crisis, a problem, it doesn't necessarily have to be mental health. It could be if it's a crisis to you, it's a crisis to them. And we will put the number up in case you want to write it down and have it. But we were talking before we went out, and we mentioned something about a resilience center in Rochester. What is that?
Yeah. So When the Oxford high school shooting happened, because of our victim assistance program, we were actually called to the high school to support them. And through that work, we were asked to start up a resiliency center in Oxford. And so, what a resiliency center is there's federal dollars that are through a program called the Anti-Terrorism Emergency Assistance Program, and they're federal grants that are specifically for communities that experience mass violence. And so we were asked to do one in Oxford, which is currently up and running. And they're 2+ years in. And then from that work, when MSU happened, the shooting on campus, we were asked to facilitate another resiliency center to support that community. And just this past summer in Rochester Hills, in June, there was a mass violence incident at the splash pad right on Auburn Road in Rochester Hills. And so through that work and the close work with the Oakland County Sheriff's Department, we were again asked to facilitate a resiliency center there. And so the resiliency centers are there to support anyone who has been impacted by a mass violence incident. And so whichever resiliency center is focused on that particular incident. So Rochester will be focused on the splash pad. But like I said, we never turn anyone away. So even if you aren't impacted by that incident, but you need to come in and need some resources, we never turn anyone away. There's no wrong door with Common Ground. And so we're actually going to be opening in early January. Right now we're in the middle of doing some renovations. But what happens at these resiliency centers is it's really the community gets to decide what type of programs are run out of that. So each community is very different. And so each resiliency center is very different. And so there's a younger demographic for Rochester because of the children involved. And so we'll have a lot of activities that encourage people to come in. And through that, we build trust. And so, our hope is if they are ever in need of any sort of support, that they're comfortable reaching out to us or talking to the navigators, which are advocates in these resiliency centers, to support them long term. And so these programs are usually about 3 to 4 years. And there are resiliency centers all over the country. And we all lean on each other within the United States. The programs lean on one another for programming and ideas and support. And so we have a lot of knowledge and experience in this area when it comes to victim services, in addition to our comprehensive crisis support. So we're excited to get that open, and we really want to spread the word so that people are aware. It's on the corner of DeQuinder and Auburn Road, right there in Rochester. Excuse me, if you're familiar with the Chicken Shack, we are right by them, so that's helpful. And we encourage people when we open to come and visit.
Well, Chicken Shack is of course an iconic location, so it's good to know where it is. Yeah, Rochester. It's funny that end of the county is very, very big and very developed, and it's sort of kind of a secret in ways. It's like its own planet up there with Rochester Hills, and Lake Orion, and then over to the college. So it's good to have a center right up there. For all those people. Now, one thing you mentioned is it looks to me like a lot of what you do. I mean, people call and you have your volunteers is matching individuals with service. People call, I need this, I need that. So, well, that's okay. We can help you get this. We can help you get that, and matching them to services. You've got to have a very big Rolodex. Do people still use Rolodexes? I don't know.
I don't know about that.
I do, but I'm old school.
Yeah. Yes, we pride ourselves in making sure that we are able to provide services no matter what people are experiencing. And if we aren't the answer, we have a lot of community partnerships that we have that we can refer people to. So, we might not always be the answer, but you can always start with us. And other organizations are aware of our services too. So if you start in another organization, they may refer you to Common Ground. And we're really proud of our partnerships, and we're really proud of just the large array of services that we can provide to Oakland County and the surrounding communities.
Well, I know that yeah, for the call in, that's got to take a very, very special, kind of person to do that and take a lot of training. I mean, how does someone become a volunteer? I mean, it's nothing I could do, but how does that happen? How do people do that?
Yeah, so we actually on our website, so we have both paid and volunteer staff, and our volunteers are extremely valuable to us. We are just so grateful for them volunteering their time. A lot of them volunteer full time, and we are so grateful for that. But either volunteering or if you're interested in a career, we do have on our website. You can go to the careers button and see, where we're hiring. But if you are passionate about being volunteers, we really embrace that. And there's multiple different programs, and so people have different passions, different strengths, and so you can volunteer to be on the crisis line. You can volunteer with victim services and be an advocate. So there's a lot of different options. We do have, when you there's a button that you can click and fill out your information on our Common Ground website, and that will get you you'll fill out a little bit of general information, and then someone will call you back and get to know you a little bit to see where you might be best suited. For the call lines, the paid staff and our volunteers for the call lines, they go through extensive training. So it's about 90 hours of crisis intervention training, and then they take time to shadow, and then they're independent with someone watching them before they're released on their own. So it's quite an extensive process, but that's why we're so good at what we do, because we really take the time to make sure that people have the tools that they need to succeed in their roles.
Now, you mentioned the website, and it's commonground.org, right?
Yep, yep.
So,
Or it could be, we have a couple, you can go to commongroundhelps.org or cghelps.org. And those are, you're going to find all the information about Common Ground on our main website.
and you can find that by just putting in a search for Common Ground.
Yep.
Yeah, it's all that's there. Now, volunteers, really, you need all kinds of volunteers, right?
Yes. Yep. All kinds of volunteers. So, like I said, the crisis line, our victim assistance program, it may be helping someone fill out a personal protection order or some help with victims' compensation. We also have volunteers who do some of our support groups. So, we have a suicide survivors support group. And so, we have volunteers to do that. We have peer support programs within Common Ground, and so you may have utilized Common Ground and you want to give back and help people who may have experienced some of the similar things that you have. And so there's always opportunities for volunteering, and we really encourage people, if you feel a calling to volunteer and help the community, please reach out on our website, and we would love to talk to you.
Well, it's the big, this is a very big operation. How do you support yourself? You have grants and things, or people give money? Once again, the website will show people who think they would like to support Common Ground how they can do that.
Yeah, so we have a lot of different types of grants for our different types of programs. We get federal grants and we get state grants. We have partners that also help provide funding, like OCHN, which is the Oakland County Health Network. And a lot of our programs, especially, the volunteers are also, they're donating their time, which is very important. But we also have programs that need to be funded with public dollars. And so you can donate right on our website, and you have the opportunity to pick if you want a certain program to be supported through those dollars, or it can just go to the general fund, and then we put that where it's most needed. And that could be things like not only running our programs, but some of our grants are a little restricted on some like activities that we provide for example, the resiliency centers. Food is the biggest draw into the center to build trust because people are like, I can go in for pizza, check them out, and then, okay, I like them. Maybe I'll visit more often and reach out for some help. So we're always looking for that, for funding for those types of things. It really, nourishment is, a common language among all of us, and so food is a big need. And our victim assistance program, that is for general crime. So our HT program is grant funded, but our general crime is not. And so that's sexual assault victims, it's domestic violence, gun violence. That is completely funded by the public, and we're able to support victims of crime through the generosity of our donors. And we need that to continue those programs so that we can continue to help victims. It also helps us deploy to any sort of crisis, event, like Rochester. Those public dollars actually allow advocates to go and be with those victims and immediately into the hospital with them. So donor dollars are really, really important to Common Ground as a whole.
So there are a lot of ways that people can help, a lot of ways people can get involved. And once again, is the best way to get in touch is to go to the website.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Very quickly, how did you get involved in all this?
Well, I actually am not from, I don't have a background in this. And I actually really like telling people this story because I actually I have a development background. I worked for a local nonprofit in Oxford, and it was much smaller than Common Ground. And when the Oxford incident happened, I had a personal connection and was a volunteer for several months supporting that community. And I was introduced to Common Ground because they were looking for a leader in Oxford, and I wanted that job. And so through that, I've gotten into the director of victim services because now we have, multiple victim services programs. I absolutely love my job. If you had asked me even 5 years ago if I would be in this work, I would not have even guessed it. But this is a passion of mine, and also just being immersed into the work that Common Ground does as an organization. It's such a privilege to walk alongside people, and letting us be part of their story is an honor. For everyone we serve, regardless of what your experience is. We are the organization as a whole. We've been around for 50 plus years for a reason. Everyone who works in this organization truly cares about the people we serve, and they are our top priority.
Well, it's a wonderful organization. It's been around a long time. Like I said, I remember when y'all were in Royal Oak, in that little house, the White House, and then when you moved. So, which kind of dates me. But and once again, we're going to put the number up. If anybody needs help, if anybody is having trouble, or as you said, if it's a crisis to you, it's a crisis to us. And the number would be 800-231-1127. That's talking with Jamie Ayers, and we have that up on the screen, who is the Director of Victim Services for Common Ground. And thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Thank all of you for joining us here on Eye on Oakland.